Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Purple Politics, hosted by political expert and commentator Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Join us to discuss the most important issues affecting our nation with fresh, balanced, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Purple Politics starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And do you feel the electricity, the excitement, the joy? That is what the DNC is portraying. Joyous celebration. And to no one's surprise, it is rolling out like celebrity after celebrity. But one of the biggest things was the surprise appearance by Oprah Winfrey. Yes, the Big O was on the stage, and that was her first time ever appearing on a Democratic convention or even any convention. But let's jump into what is now being seen as, I'll admit, super fun, exciting, very heavy on the anti-Trump. I mean, honestly, it's a bit much, but you know what? When you get Oprah, who is an independent, who is wearing her symbolic purple to state that independent is the way to go, that it is not about one party or the other, which is part of the problem. And maybe, as Chris Cuomo says, the uniparty is real because that is what the corporate dollars, those hundreds of millions of dollars pouring into campaigns, is really the uniparty. That is the issue. But let's get into it. So we have Oprah, we have football analogies, we have freedom. And the Democratic Party is embracing patriotism. I know, it's amazing. Patriotism is a good thing now with the Democratic Party. So on the third night of the Democratic National Convention, former presidents and hopeful leaders took the stage in a celebration that also marked the primetime debut of Governor Tim Walz. Cheered on by members of his high school football team he once coached, Walz accepted the Democrats' vice presidential nomination with a speech that resonated with the evening's theme of unity. The convention paid tribute to Minnesota, Walz's home state, with a special acknowledgement of the artist formerly known as Prince and an appearance by Senator Amy Klobuchar. The evening underscored the enduring influence of celebrity in politics. Speakers repeatedly emphasized the importance of neighborly respect, drawing on the character of Ned Flanders from The Simpsons as a metaphor for the Democrats' approach. This is markedly different from the approach of Biden and his campaign, or even in 2020. It's refreshing. I mean, yes, we saw for a glimmer during the RNC about unity and such, but it is welcome when you have Oprah Winfrey saying it does not matter who you are. If your house is on fire, if you're in danger, if you need help, it should not matter what color you are, what race you are, what gender identity you are, or what gender you are. It's about being whole. And that is what this show is about. It's about saying, you know what, we are a nation of people. And yes, we have differing opinions. And yes, it's okay to debate. And yes, it's okay to differ in those opinions. Trust me, it happens often in my house. But the bottom line is we are neighbors, we are family, and we should respect each other and love each other. And yes, the third night brought back Bill Clinton. I mean, talking about a great president who was a moderate. I mean, he came in with, it's ironically not even close to what the progressives are today, but what was seen as a left agenda in 1992. And he quickly knew that you had to go more in the middle. You had to join in, reach out to the other side, work with the other side, because that is how we move this nation forward to the better of all its citizens and residents. And again, let's look at what Oprah said. Differences like race, religion, political affiliation should not matter. We are neighbors. And one time, echoing back to the days of Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, heck, even Obama's administration, which was 16 years ago that it began, we were not divided like this. We didn't have this vilification. And much of that does have to do with media, with mainstream media pushing a storyline or an agenda, or the fact that these two fringes on both the left and the right have so much noise coming from them that it gets all the focus. Bill Clinton, he came on 2 days after his wife kicked off the first day of the DNC. Hillary, who was very much still angry, and I'm sorry, Hillary just, for whatever reason, when she gets on, whether it's interviewing or on stage, she just comes off as a bitter, angry woman. But it was seen as passing the torch. And Bill Clinton, who just recently turned 28 or 78, excuse me, Bill, I'm sure you'll love, or President Clinton, that I said 28, but 78, he even, with humor, noted that despite his age, he's still younger than Trump, because thanks to Biden dropping out, Trump is now the oldest candidate ever to run for president. And President Clinton played the role of the generational bridge, encouraging voters to support Harris and her vision for the future. Clinton's speech marked his transition from a once youthful political icon to a figure of the past, passing the baton to the next generation of Democratic leaders. My hope, though, is by passing that baton to the next generation, whether it's the Democratic leaders or even Republican, or more importantly, even some of those independent, moderate leaders that are being influenced and shaped by today's politics. Let's hope that the lessons of his presidency, of how he was able to work with people of differing parties and opinions and ideological beliefs, let's hope that is what is going to happen in the future. And that night sent a clear message of generational change within the Democratic Party. Clinton's presence, along with rising stars like Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro, who was phenomenal. I mean, Governor Shapiro, his speaking ability is off the charts. He was phenomenal. He was good. And it really did put a big question mark, like, is the good old coach really the right choice? Because Shapiro just is dynamic. He has this amazing ability to own the stage. And some will say that he very Obama-esque, and maybe even Ronald Reagan-esque. Because remember, President Reagan was the first that really commanded that stage and understood it. And looking at President Clinton's final remarks with both reflective and forward-looking, he expressed his pride in the Democratic ticket and urged voters to not only support but believe in this. And then we have a pinnacle that this is a sweet scene. Whether you liked President Obama or not, whether you agreed with him or not, and I will say, for one, I think now maybe it's more of a nostalgia of back then, that it was a little bit more decorum. I did not agree with Obama's administration for many of his points, but I will tell you what, I respect the hell out of Obama and Michelle, and for them to come out and Michelle finally being released of any political shackles, and she was able to say what she really wanted to say. And there was hypocrisy. There's a lot of hypocrisy. There always is. So don't think that it's like, wait a minute, Alina, you were like all RNC like a month ago, and now you're all DNC. Well, it's that fervor. It's that excitement. This is, it is celebration, but there was a lot of hypocrisy, even from what Michelle was saying about the generational wealth. The transfer of wealth shouldn't be happening, and there needs to be taxes, when the Obamas didn't have money. They didn't have a lot of money or wealth when they entered into the White House. And since then, they are they have a net worth of $70 million. Their oldest daughter is now worth $10 million, and much of that is because of a trust fund that she inherited. So there is still great, let's face it, it's just hypocrisy. But the RNC has the same hypocrisy. When you're denouncing billionaires, but then you have a self-made billionaire, Oprah. And let's give a round of applause, because the reality is that there is a godmother of the Democratic National Committee of the Democrats that was able to pull this together, and it was Nancy Pelosi. And as many put on her thing, a pin saying Nancy, our godmother, as the DNC was unfolding with renewed optimism. And that is what we're seeing, is a surge of energy, a renewal of the base. Many are saying this is because of Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, who is known to be a major strategist. I mean, she's a key strategist. She knows how to play the game, and she knows what's most important. And to her, it's not about the individual, it's about the party winning. To her, it's about maintaining power. And that is what has been proven by the Democratic Party, because you could easily see that when Pelosi, who was instrumental in shoehorning and forcing Biden out of the campaign, basically getting him to, he was forced out of his campaign. But Pelosi was instrumental to this. And by the way, Biden and she have not had personal talks, no matter how much love she talked about on the stage for Biden and saying how he should be on Mount Rushmore. And okay, super exaggeration, because his administration hasn't been that great. But Pelosi is instrumental for this change, because but for Pelosi putting the screws to Biden and pushing him out, although she says opening the door so Schumer and others can swamp in too. That's why we're seeing a resurgence of this Democratic National Convention. And so with this, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we are going to talk about the introduction of our vice presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. Tune right back in.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
So we were finally introduced to Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor and vice presidential nominee, delivered a folksy, forward-looking speech at the DNC, urging voters to move past Donald Trump's divisiveness, emphasizing the importance of leadership that focus on action rather than insults. Walz framed the 2024 election as an opportunity to turn the page and move forward under Kamala Harris's leadership. In his speech, he highlighted his rural roots, military service. All right, that is a difficult word to say sometimes, and experience as a teacher and football coach to connect with the voters. He also criticized Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, labeling their policies as weird. Drawing on his coaching experience, Walz rallied Democrats, likening the election to a high-stakes game where they were on the offensive, ready to win. The convention heavily focused on introducing Walz to the nation, with contributions from Senator Amy Klobuchar, former football players he coached, in a video narrated by his wife. Walz's background as a small-town Nebraskan who rose through the ranks of the National Guard and into politics was highlighted, along with the progressive record, extremely progressive record as governor of Minnesota. And he is. He is an extreme progressive. He ran for Congress as a moderate, and he moved further and further left. And then when he was governor, it was extremely progressive. Now, some of those, look, free lunches for all students, K through 12. Well, Florida has the same thing. I mean, we have some similarities, and some of them are good pop. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that he is a taxing of the wealthy. He is about giving a lot of benefits and trying to get everybody on the dole. And that is where the big question is because Kamala, although she's trying to portray herself as, oh, we're only in the now, we're going to be moderate and we're going to be here. The reality is that she ran as an extreme progressive notions in 2020. She was known to be extremely progressive and to that fringe left when she was a senator. So now you're starting to see this move over. And I'm going to ask all of y'all, think about it. Does this sound familiar? Biden, when he ran in 2019, 2020, he was saying that he was a moderate Democrat. He was a traditional Democrat. And the moment he got into office, he passed within 98 executive orders within the first 100 days, and it went extremely left, progressive. So that's going to be the question, because right now, though they're the whole Trump bashing and everything like that, to include what the Obamas were Trump bashing, goes to their base, much like we tell Trump, you don't have to feed into your base. It's about the independents. It's about those disenfranchised Democrats, Republicans, and independents that are unsure. And it definitely comes down to those key states, those toss-ups. That's where it is. But then you got to ask yourself, can I really trust this party? Can I trust what they're saying? Are they truly going to be moderate? Are they actually going to take into consideration what the vast majority of us, it doesn't matter if you're a D, an R, an I, an NA. And at the DNC, Barack and Michelle Obama delivered powerful speeches to support Kamala's bid for the presidency, marking their third effort to prevent Donald Trump from winning the White House. The Obamas emphasized that Harris's success is crucial not only for the country, but also for preserving their own legacies. Barack Obama highlighted Harris's dedication to giving people the same opportunity she had, contrasting her leadership with Trump's chaotic approach. Now, here's the most interesting part. Michelle Obama, speaking about the urgency about the election's significance and framing it as a chance to overcome the division and hatred she associates with Trump's presidency. Every single one of these speakers seem to be forgetting Trump is not the incumbent. For 3.5 years, we've had a Biden-Harris administration. Remember, it wasn't a Biden. It was always, they were together, lockstep. That's one of the most perplexing things about this. Every single speaker is acting as if Trump is the incumbent, when in fact, Harris has been in this administration, along with Biden, saying that everything Biden did, they did together for 3.5 years. I mean, Biden was the one who called out saying he was going to be the president of unity, and then he immediately was demonizing anybody who was a Trump supporter, especially MAGA, saying that they were domestic terrorists. And I'm not talking about excuse me for saying this, the idiots of January 6th and those that were really out those like the Proud Boys, because there's some serious issues there, just like, Antifa on the left. But to say that, demonizing half of the country that voted for your opponent, that is not the way to unity. It will be interesting to see how Kamala goes into this. Now, let's talk about Biden. The first night of the Democratic National Convention was supposed to be a farewell, a tribute, basically a celebration of President Biden's 50 years in politics. And even to the point where we have Kamala that did a surprise stop in to celebrate Biden. And honestly, now that I think back at first I was I felt bad. I felt offense. I don't know what better way to say it for Biden, because here's a man that was basically shoved out of the campaign, and probably rightfully so, because he was getting hammered in the polls, and especially after that July debate. But it was supposed to be a video and James Taylor singing, and it was supposed to be a celebration. And then, which honestly, Democrats look, I'm all about Latin time, but the Democratic timing is horrendous. When you have Biden not even appearing until 11:30 at night, well past prime, when you have no video tribute to him, you do not have James Taylor singing to him, you barely have anyone really celebrating Biden. And then it made all sense when you watch Biden's speech. Angry old man. That's basically what we got. We got a man that was, first of all, the fact checking was all over the place, because he said so many untruths and debunked things that are, well known. Project 2025, not Trump's, already been debunked. It has been debunked. Even by CNN, it's been debunked. When Biden is out there and CNN is debunking a lot of things he's saying, let's give heart to it. But you know what? The bottom line is that they pushed Biden out to 11:30. Yes, Obama spoke at 11. Yes, they're running late on everything because they want to hit that central time zone. But now I'm seeing why they did it. He yelled. I mean, for 48 minutes, the lack of emotional connection that might have redeemed his political legacy, acknowledging his mistakes and expressing gratitude for his journey from modest beginnings to the presidency, that was not it. It wasn't about maybe even saying, look what all these things that I have been a part of, because he has. Again, term limits for congressional members really needs to be put on the ballot. It needs to be put in a referendum. But what we got was Biden screaming into a microphone, Biden being angry, and reinforcing the perception that he was no longer the right candidate. It basically gave the perception like, oh my God. He reminded me of that one, there's a puppeteer that has the old curmudgeon-y hand puppet. That is Biden. And honestly, once you see this, I think you could have felt the audience's palpable sense of relief that Biden steps aside for Kamala. And Kamala, she's representing a fresh and younger face for the party. Her candidacy has already begun to shift the polls in favor of the Democrats down the road. They're still and we're going to get into the polls, that back and forth. It's a pendulum. Is it Harris? Is it Trump? Is it Harris? Is it Trump? But the one thing is for certain, even though there were doubts as to whether Kamala was going to be a benefit for even Biden as a VP running mate, again, this time around, we're not talking about the first time around. People are solidly behind her, and she has breathed a huge breath of fresh air into this. And Kamala Harris, who has been meticulously preparing for her biggest night. And this is the biggest night ever. Yes, she appeared at the DNC as to accept the VP nomination 4 years ago, but this is completely different. All eyes are on her, all spotlights on her, and this is her moment to shine. And yes, I want her to succeed in that shining because it is an exciting moment. It is fresh. And for my goodness, yes, we have a younger generation coming in as leaders. But the bigger question is, what are going to be her 3 objectives? She's staying away from defining key policy movements. But one of the things that she does need to do, and she is taking advantage of at this moment with the Democratic National Convention, is narrating her personal journey. See, she's still an unknown to the vast majority of Americans. Yes, she's the VP, but do we know her? Not really. I mean, touched her husband appearing and was very touching, especially relating to their courting and their dating and things like that. But this is her time to narrate her personal journey, contrast her vision with the future with Donald Trump, though there are some likenesses, and reclaiming that patriotic spirit. And again, this is very refreshing because if you recall, back in 2020 and 2021, anybody hanging the American flag was seen as a redneck MAGA person, and it was deemed as a negative. So it is really nice that, hey, once again, the Democratic Party are realizing that it's good. It's good to be proud to be United States America. It is good to be an American. And I will say one thing. Here's something I have noted that is marketably different from the RNC to the DNC. When I look at the signs that are being held and waved by the delegates, you see USA. That used to not be there, but now it is. USA. It's more positive, loving. You don't have deport them all. So is this really a message of hope, or are we just going to get a glimmer of this one, 4 days of Democrats, partying it up, celebrating, going whoop, whoop, and it's all about the joy and hope? That is the real question. But we will say one thing, Kamala, if you're going to bring the joy and the hope, bring it, bring positivity, because I, for one, am tired of the hate, the vitriol, and the fear mongering. So let's get to it. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to still dive into more DNC. Tune back.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
So let's go back to what is the biggest challenge for Kamala Harris as candidate for presidency. And that is building a public persona in such a divisive race. Because like I said, the polling numbers, which that's always a snapshot in time. Yesterday, she was up by 5 points. Today, Trump is up by 4 points. So it's like a pendulum swinging. And it's that snapshot. But as VP Harris reintroduces herself on this national stage, Democrats aiming to highlight her background and achievements, presenting her as a product of a modest upbringing who has risen through the ranks to become a prominent political leader. Raised by a single mother and once an employee at McDonald's, which Bill Clinton was making sure to draw that distinction from a trust fund baby, Trump, to Harris. Harris' story is contrasted with the Republican portrayals of her as an out-of-touch liberal with problematic policies on crime and immigration. The Democrats' narrative wants to convey focusing on her genuine connection to the middle-class struggles and her role as a committed public servant. Despite her significant political experience, including time in the Senate and as vice president, Harris remains relatively unknown, as we discussed earlier. And recent polls show that a substantial portion of the electorate are unfamiliar with her positions and priorities. Democrats view this as an opportunity to shape her image and narrative before the November election against former President Trump. So this convention speech is that key moment in defining her public persona, but it's not the only one. This is a great snapshot. I mean, she's talking to her base, but the real appeal is to the audience. But then after the convention, it's about her getting in front of media, doing press junkets, answering the question, getting out there and conveying who you are. Because she is known to be a pragmatic person. Very pragmatic in being in person and supposedly saying that she doesn't want to change the way things are, but really solidify it and how we can embed her now, today, the present moment, which is still contradictory to what she was doing in 2020 when she was stating all of these very progressive moves. At one point, going to a one insurance, Medicare for all, getting rid of all private insurance. And then she backed away from that. She still has to deal with the border and her immigration stance, because at one point she was all for blowing up the INS and starting from scratch or getting rid of it. And the Republicans continue to criticize her for her previous policy positions and linked her to the broader Democratic policies that have been unpopular. such as the handling of the Afghanistan withdrawal and economic issues like inflation. Because no matter how much everybody is saying, oh, and her herself going, oh, people can't afford groceries and gas and things like that. Well, newsflash, gas, grocery, all of that increased and doubled at some point during her administration with Biden, the Biden-Harris administration. Yes, the issues with COVID and transportation issues and the gridlock at the piers and stuff in California, and Mayor Pete being on paternity leave had all that to do with it. And no, there is no price gouging, because if there were price gouging, as the vice president, she could have she could have rounded up all the AGs in every state and go, okay, start going after those grocery stores that are price gouging. They're not, because yes, there is going to be profits. Yes, there are profits. However, get to the key root. Stop acting like you are running against an incumbent when you are the incumbent. And that is the truth. So even with the strategy, showcasing her personal life, building up that connection with voters, because that is one of the things that Kamala has not been successful with in the past. And that is truly connecting with her audience, whether live or on television. She comes off as condescending. She placates by changing her accent. And I'm sorry, that annoys me. It does. I don't want someone to come into a Southern saying just, oh, damn, we got this. I may sometimes fall into that because I did grow up in a Southern town. However, be real, connect, show your truth, show your things. And I liked how she is rolling out her husband a little more to show and convey her personal side, like sharing this story of how she officiated at her stepson's wedding and providing the red book to them as a memento. And now what really is amazing, and this is where you see the huge shift, not only in excitement, the up-leveling of fundraising. Kamala Harris has raised $500 million since Biden dropped out a month ago. We're talking in less than 30 days, $500 million were raised. And this is not the $5, $25 donors that they would love for you to believe. These are major corporate donors. And if you were to look up in the arenas at the very nice skyboxes that circle away, just like RNC had, you have major corporation and lobbyists and a lot of money up there. And that's where it's coming. But when Kamala Harris was nominated, that was as if a very fresh new breeze, and the sun is out and it's beautiful blue skies and the birds are singing. Because she inherited a party deeply divided and struggling to unify because they did not believe in Biden. And since then, she has made significant strides in repairing the coalition, as evidenced by the recent New York Times Siena College battleground poll showing her leading Donald Trump by 2 percentage points in key swing states. And this marks a substantial improvement from May, when Trump held the 5-point lead over Biden. Harris's gains have been most pronounced among younger, non-white, and female voters. Specifically, she saw a notable increase in support from individuals with income under $25,000. The poor, non-white voters under 45, city residents, and regular TikTok users. Something that she is gearing her campaign towards is getting to that Gen Z. Really, signing up with streaming devices and TikTok to really get to that younger crowd. And Harris's progress has been uneven across different demographics. She's still struggling to gain the traction among older voters and white men. But this highlights a key challenge. While she has made the significant headway with younger voters, more diverse voters, traditional Democratic strongholds such as older non-white voters and white men have not shifted as much in her favor. And the groups where Harris has not seen much improvement are telling. For instance, somewhat conservative voters, very conservative voters, and staunch Trump supporters, they're not going to move. And the never Trumpers are always going to be in her back. The real issue is going to be how she can get those independents, just like it's the same challenge for Trump. It's the independents. It's going to be those disenfranchised Democrats. It's going to be those disenfranchised Republicans going, I don't fit in with the MAGA because they keep insulting me and saying I'm a rhino, I'm this, and I shouldn't belong. Or let's face it, it doesn't help that Trump still lambasts governors, Republican governors like Governor Kemp. I mean, you still have, the supposed feuding, or competition among Trump and DeSantis in Florida. But the bottom line is that she needs to reemerge. And one thing is that her campaign, the moment she came onto the scene and it was no longer Biden, and this is, it has to hurt Biden's ego, because let's face it, Biden, huge ego. Biden, huge on what he thought was right. He felt he was angry, and he's still angry. He is one pissed off old man that he is not running against Trump, and he truly believed that he should have a second shot, even though he ran in 2020 as a one-term president. But this angry old man was bringing down the party. That fateful night in July at that debate was the nail in his political coffin. And so now we're seeing, as we have witnessed these past 4 days at the DNC, this celebration, this uplifting, this new renewed energy in the Democratic base. And that's the huge upswing for Kamala. She has re-energized and reinvigorated the Democratic base. But now it's going to have to go to the independents, because again, the independents, 43% of registered voters are non-party affiliated. So huge win for the Democrats for getting Oprah to appear on that stage, who, remember, there's a lot of old videos going out that when Trump was younger, he and Oprah actually got along really great. She would bring him on the show to talk about politics. So it is that. So you know what? I'll be the first one. Am I a huge Kamala fan? No. The jury's still out. I need to learn more about her. I need to go beyond what she was doing in 2019. What is she going to do in the present day? But I also question whether she is going to pull the wool over everybody's eyes like Biden did and shift to the moderate side and shift to get all of us, moderates on board with him, and then go super progressive, because that is one thing that has happened in this administration. I also would like to know if she is going to respect the law, something that Biden has not done. You can disagree with Supreme Court justices. You can disagree with how things are done, but are you going to respect it? And as a lawyer, as someone who has constitutionally held her hand up on that Bible and swore to uphold our Constitution, I'm going to hold her to that. But it is a whole new election. And we are, 30 days before early voting begins in many swing states. It is an exciting time. Feel the party. Feel the tinglies for the Democrats. But one thing's for sure, independents, what are you going to do? What do you think? Would love to hear from you all. We're going to take a quick commercial break and wrap up with some interesting things that are happening in other candidates' worlds. Be right back.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800 367 1753. That's 800 367 1753.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Before we jump into other campaigns, one thing that is starting to take shape is Kamala Harris's economic agenda, or her policies, if you will. One of the things for sure is that she and her team are trying to distance her from Bidenomics, which was disastrous. Democratic economists, Republican economists agree. So basically, they're trying to shield her and separate her from the bad of this administration that she is a part of, but let her ride the coattails of the good. And so, again, huge resurgence of energy, hope, joy. They're just happy, jubilation. Let's put it this way: since Biden stepped down. But an informal group of economic advisors began working to define VP Harris's economic vision in a way that differentiates her from her predecessor whilst maintaining alignment with his policies, which is a tricky little balancing act for Harris. So her agenda is going to, she's been saying, making housing more affordable, $25,000 towards down payment for all first-time home buyers. That sounds great. How we're going to pay for it? Corporate taxes, increasing corporate taxes to 28.8%. Now, Trump also said that at RNC. Ironically, that's who's all in the sweet seats. Those expensive suites up there watching over. But that's one of the ways. Addressing the corporate excesses and supporting small businesses. The framework aims to clarify her economic stance as criticism has emerged about her lack of a detailed agenda early in her campaign. And the plan to unveil this gradually because, well, one, it's harder to really put your thumb on her if she unveils this policy, but also it's just, she's been thrust onto the national stage for running a presidential campaign 30 days ago. We are a little over 2 months away. Little over 2 months away from Election Day. She doesn't have the benefit of a year and a half. So she still has to do that, but she's also realized that some of her points that failed miserably in 2019, 2020, when she was running for the Democratic national candidacy, has to be changed. And also because if you have the pulse on the American society, you're going to see where they're hurting. Harris has already indicated some policy shifts, such as supporting the elimination of taxes on tips, which was first originally put forward by Donald Trump. This also suggests that Harris is prepared to advance certain ideas independently. But it does strikingly go with the fact that just a few years ago, she was the deciding vote on the new policy that employers had to add tips onto employees' pay stubs so that they could be taxed. So again, it's that, which politics, everybody talks out of both sides, but she has been writing some of the same ideas that Trump has come out, she has been in favor of. Her forthcoming policy agenda is expected to address issues like paid family leave, affordable childcare, lower healthcare costs. She'll be pushing more for probably Medicare for all. And if you look at it, yes, we had the Affordable Health Care Act. Yes, that is going to stay, but has it been as affordable as some intimate? No. Yes, it has helped some families get insurance, but then it has been extremely expensive for those that have perfect great health and are paying $1,000 a month for insurance. And it did hurt a lot of small to mid business owners with the increase in cost. So has Harris's economic team, which is including several of Biden's administration officials and business leaders working to define these policy proposals, the team wants to strike a balance between presenting a clear, actionable agenda and avoiding only overly detailed plans that it could attract criticism. Because again, remember, this is still a race to define who is Kamala Harris, who is potentially going to be a president. What are her policies? Is she extremely progressive? Is she going to tank the economy? Is she for the economy? Is she for business? Is she against business? Because one of the things that you will hear over and over again from people who have left, prominent people who have left the Democratic Party and stating that they are independent, is because the Democratic Party has put socialism as their core belief. And that is that progressive wing, that extreme progressive wing that is way too socialist. And socialism works for only a few people. And that is the people who are in power. And those are the people who will gain all the riches and who will be living in the big houses and saying to all of us that we're not allowed to own property. Look it up. Look up Cuba. Look up Venezuela. Look up former USSR. Look up a lot of these things. Even China. They have shifted to a more semi-capitalist deal, even though it's more controlled because they were going to go bankrupt. So bottom line is you got to look at the policies. And then can she continue this upward momentum of building on joy and hope rather than fear and hate? I think that's where it's going to go down. And speaking of hope, someone who really showed a lot of class and decorum. Although some may say he was crazy, some may say he was out there, some may say that he is a disgrace to Democrats because his father and uncle were the premier of what Democrats were once. That's the old school. We're talking about RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., his campaign is coming to a close. And they've been getting hit. His campaign has been getting hit one after another by lawsuits and challenges by the very Democratic Party that once he loved, that once, held on to the Camelot, the Kennedy Camelot version, which that's long gone, even though all the Kennedys were supporting Biden. Nicole Shanahan, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s running mate, suggested in a podcast interview that their independent presidential campaign might abandon its efforts and endorse Republican Donald Trump. She criticized the Democratic Party for what she described as sabotage of their campaign, citing challenges with securing ballot access and financial difficulties, and the continuing efforts by the Democratic Party in their lawfare. Trump responded to the suggestion by expressing willingness to consider giving Kennedy a position in his administration if he endorsed him. Trump indicated his respect for Kennedy, showing openness to such a move, although he has previously attacked Kennedy after he shifted from the Democratic primary to an independent bid. Shanahan, a former Democratic donor and ex-wife of the Google co-founder, Sergey Brin, voiced frustration with the Democratic Party, alleging internal disruptions and legal obstacles. And they have. They have been, what was it? I think it was Wednesday. Kennedy was in court again on, basically all day testifying in New York based on whether he's eligible to be on the ballot, whether he lied about being a resident of the state of New York. And so with Kennedy, and he has shown hope, he you know what, he was very strong with the independents because he actually stated things that they were thinking. And yes, he may be really hyper focused on the vaccines and COVID and big pharma, and maybe that needs to be done. But one thing is for sure, he showed class, he showed decorum. He, in spite of his family coming out and ridiculing his campaign and coming out against him, he always showed love. So to Kennedy, thank you. Thank you for showing the class that is so much needed in Congress, so much needed in politics, so much needed in the presidential campaigns. To local and government. It's not about a you or them. It's not about the R and the D. It's about the we people. And as we're seeing Robert F. Kennedy finally hearing the opera singers singing and his departure from the race, and though he was unconventional, one thing is for sure is to be said. He showed a lot of class. He showed a lot of heart. And in his heart, he was doing the right thing. But one thing is for sure, I would love for us to go back to an era where people spoke to each other with dignity, that hopes of young women such as his running mate Shanahan, for the first time in politics, be able to spring forth their voice and also shed crucial light on important issues affecting families and children today. I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery, and yes, I am still buzzing with all the celebration, and I do enjoy the performances of Pink and John Legend and Little John. I love him. Thanks to Celebrity Apprentice, I got to know who he was much better, too, a different side from the rapper that I knew. But I am Alina. I am Purple Politics, and I want to thank you for joining me for another night, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful weekend and see you in our next episode.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Artritis, inflamación, reuma, dolores articulares, dolores musculares, dolores, muchos dolores, una solución. Be Miracle, el milagro de vivir sin dolor. Hace más de 2400 años, los griegos descubrieron los poderes desinflamatorios de la apitoxina, el veneno de las abejas, que es 100 veces más poderosa que la cortisona, pero sin sus efectos secundarios. Be Miracle, la fórmula original con apitoxina 100% natural, el milagro de vivir sin dolor.
Yo me acostumbré a vivir con dolor y con alta presión. Fue como un milagro. Empecé a tomar la capsulita de veneno de abejas y se me calmó el dolor. Mi presión está normal y hasta el carácter me cambió.
A nosotros nos gustaba pasear, caminar, bailar, ir a la discoteca, pero nos llegó la artritis y nos arruinó todo. Y ahora, tomando una capsulita diaria del veneno de la abeja, volvemos a disfrutar de la vida.
Y gracias a este milagro podemos ser felices.
Be Miracle frena la artrosis, rejuvenece las articulaciones, desinflama y elimina el dolor. Ya basta de dolores musculares, ya basta de dolores articulares, ya basta de sufrir.
Con una cápsula diaria del veneno de abejas, volví a vivir sin dolores.
B-Miracle. Llame ahora y reciba 2 meses de B-Miracle en oferta especial. Ordena 2 y recibe 3 meses de tratamiento. Pero si llama ahora mismo con su orden, recibirá la crema B-Miracle de acción inmediata completamente gratis. Para ese dolor rebelde y localizado que a veces aparece, pero tiene que